In this video, we are going to go ahead and start getting our player 2 involved, and we're going to kind of make something happen whenever object ball 1 collides with player 2. So we're going to go ahead and code this in player 2. So I'm going to double click on player 2. So we're in our player 2 object. The event that we want is collision, and it is colliding with ball 1. So think about our two players maybe having a snowball fight, whatever scenario you would like. So player 1 throws ball 1 at player 2. Whenever those two objects collide, we are going to destroy both objects. Actually, the instance of the object would be a more correct way of saying this. And then we are going to, sorry about that, that's actually effect create, not create effect. So effect create above. And we have our parentheses. Okay, and it's telling us here that we need 5 arguments. Okay, arguments and parameters are pretty much the same thing. So that's what goes in between these parentheses. And again, if you look at the bottom of your actions box, you'll see, whoops, click on here, and you'll see what we need. So we want the kind of effect. So we want EF explosion. And again, we can click on this. We then want the X and Y position. And we are getting the X and Y position of player 2. That's the object we're in. So we just have to put in X, comma, Y, comma. The size, we're going to use the same one we used before, which was 0. And now we want the color of this explosion. So my player is blue, so I'm going to go ahead and use C_blue. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and destroy our player 1. So we're going to go ahead and say, I'm sorry, not player 1, player 2. Destroy instance destroy. Destroy. Okay, and that's automatically going to be our player 2 because that's the object we're in. Okay, and now we can do the same thing. Oops. All right, so let's go ahead and try that out. So we have player 1. And we'll go in this direction. Okay, and whenever the ball hits the player, he gets destroyed. Okay, now the only thing is now he's gone, and that's no fun if we can't play anymore. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set player 2 back on the screen, but we're also going to send player 1 back. Alright, so we're sending these guys back to their corners. So to do that, we're going to create another instance. So we're going to say instance underscore create underscore depth, or just click on this. And again, you see down here, we've got 4 things we need to fill in. Alright, so the X and Y position here, this time we're going to actually fill in a number for the X and Y position. So for this, we talked about the X and Y coordinates. And go ahead and so in your Game Maker screen, the top upper left-hand corner of our screen is 0, 0. Those numbers get larger. That's our X coordinate is the first one there. As we go towards the right, those numbers get larger. For the Y, start out at 0 up here. As we move south, the numbers get larger again. Okay, so we want to put our player 2 right up here, and we're going to put our player 1 right around here. So let's go ahead and look at our room. So we have our room here. And the upper right hand corner, so way up here, is going to be 0, 0 at the very top left hand corner. And we want to get our player 2 to be right around where he's sitting now. So these bricks to make up our wall were around 64 pixels by 64 pixels. So I'm going to try out 100 by 100 and see how that looks. So we'll get back over to player 2. So our code here. And we're going to go ahead and try 100, 100 for our X and Y position. We need a depth. We're going to use 0 for that. And we need the object. So the object we're creating is player 2. So obj player 2. Okay, now we mentioned that we also want to send back player 1. Whoops. So we're going to go ahead and add some code for player 1 as well. To do that, we're going to use one of those widths again. So we're going to say, in the next line, width, parentheses, obj, player 1, parentheses. And then we're going to go ahead and add in the X and Y coordinate for player 1. So we're going to use curly braces for this. And our curly braces are right above the Enter key on the right hand side of your keyboard. They are on the top of those two keys, so right next to the right of the P key. So I'm going to go ahead and do a beginning curly brace here. Actually, I kind of like to move it down to the next line so you can match these up a little easier. Hit Enter a couple times. Ending curly brace. Space is the opposite direction. And we're going to go ahead and put our X and Y for player 1 inside of here. So the size of our stage was 640 by 480. So I'm going to go 100 less on each of those. We could even go a little bit more to test that out. We just don't want our players to end up on a wall, because that could cause us some problems. So we're going to go ahead and say x equals, and I'm going to do 540 for our x position of player 1, and our y position, I'm going to do a 380. And again, we'll test this out and see how it works. That was a little stop sign there, so we didn't want that. Sometimes if you accidentally click out here, you'll add these little stop signs to stop the code. So we don't want that to happen, so you can just unclick those. We're going to go ahead and play our animation now. Whenever I played my animation, it ended up that player 1 and 2 were both touching the wall. Player 2 is a little bit more under the wall than player 1, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust my values. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and this one needs to be a little bit smaller too. So my x coordinates for player 1 is good, just my y needs to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, adjust those numbers. So y needs to be a little smaller. So let's try 3, 25. And for player 2, these numbers were too big. So I'm going to go ahead and try 70. Let's do 80. 80 by 80. And we'll see how that works. Play this again. And let's go ahead and throw a ball at player 2 with our Q key. We have our explosion. Player 1 looks good. Player 2, let's see if we can move him around. Okay, and testing player 2 looked good. So we are ready to go on, and we can start getting some points for our players in our next video. Back to his